This powder sits in your kitchen and costs pennies, and aphids literally run away from it. But beware, if you use it the way most gardeners do, the effect will be zero. You go out to your garden plot in the morning, and your roses look like someone poured glue over them and sprinkled them with green dust. The leaves are curled, the stems covered with hundreds of tiny creatures. You know this, right? Most of us know it all too well. But don't turn off this video because by the end of it, you will learn the only method that truly works, is practically free, and requires no chemicals. Today, we will tackle a topic that probably everyone who grows anything struggles with, regardless of whether they have garden beds by their house, a balcony full of herbs, or greenhouses on a plot. Aphids, those tiny, barely visible creatures that can turn a healthy, lush plant into a sad, sticky skeleton in just a few days. But before I reveal what powder destroys them, we must first understand who we are really fighting, because most people think aphids are just tiny bugs that at worst ruin the appearance of plants. And this is a fundamental mistake that costs us crops, nerves, and money. Aphids are some of the most dangerous garden pests in all of Central Europe. They have been with us for thousands of years, and during this time, they have achieved perfection in survival and reproduction. A single female aphid during her lifetime, which lasts roughly 20 to 30 days, is capable of giving birth to up to 80 offspring. Now imagine that each of those 80 offspring starts giving birth to the next generation after just a few days. We are talking about so-called parthenogenesis, or reproduction without fertilization, where females give birth to live young that are their genetic clones. In a single season, a colony numbering millions of individuals can arise from one single aphid. Millions! That's not an exaggeration, it's simply biology. But that's not the end of the bad news. Aphids are vectors, meaning carriers of plant viruses: cucumber mosaic virus, potato leaf roll virus, barley yellow dwarf virus. These are just a few of the dozens of viruses that aphids transfer with their stylets from plant to plant. When an aphid feeds on an infected plant and then flies over to your healthy one, it takes the virus with it. And there is no cure for viral plant diseases. The only defense is prevention, and every day of delay increases the risk of transmitting a disease that could destroy the entire crop. Then there is the issue of ants. Ants love honeydew, the sticky, sweet substance that aphids excrete. They treat aphids like their dairy cows. They tend to them, move them to new plants, and even defend them against predators. So if you see ants running along the stems of your plants, it's almost certain that an aphid colony is lurking somewhere nearby. And the worst part is that a popular method recommended on the internet gives them exactly what they need to multiply even faster. What do most gardeners do when they spot aphids? They go online and look for home remedies or drive to the store for a chemical spray. In both cases, they usually make a mistake. Let's start with popular internet advice. The first one is spraying with soapy water. Soap itself can indeed dissolve the aphid's protective wax layer and cause them to dehydrate. The problem is that a simple soap solution works very briefly, quickly runs off the leaves, and above all, doesn't reach where the aphids actually sit, which is on the undersides of the leaves. The result? After a few hours, the colony is back to full strength. The second popular piece of advice is vinegar. A vinegar solution can indeed repel aphids, but vinegar is an acid, and quite an aggressive one. In too high a concentration, it damages the leaves and burns plant tissues. It does more harm than good. In too low a concentration, it is simply ineffective. The third piece of advice is garlic itself. Yes, it has some repellent properties, but garlic decoction alone is not enough to eliminate an existing colony. It is a preventive measure, not a rescue remedy. And now for chemical insecticides. I understand the temptation perfectly. You stand over your tomatoes into which you've put so much energy, and you see these tiny creatures literally sucking the life out of them. You want a quick solution, and chemicals promise that. Except that most chemical aphid preparations belong to a group called systemic insecticides. They are absorbed into the plant and poison anyone who sucks from it or eats it. It sounds effective, and it actually is effective. But at what cost? These substances do not distinguish an aphid from a bee. They do not distinguish a pest from a 7-spot ladybug, which is a natural enemy of aphids. They do not distinguish an insect that harms you from an insect that protects your garden. By using chemicals, you paradoxically destroy your garden's natural defense system. And worse, if you use chemicals on vegetables or fruits that you later eat, you expose yourself and your family to substances whose long-term impact on human health is still being debated. There is also the financial aspect. Good quality chemical sprays are not cheap. One package costs 20, 30, and sometimes 50 PLN and lasts for a few applications. Over the course of a season, you can spend well over 150 PLN on chemicals, yet there is a solution that costs literally a few pennies and you have it in your kitchen. Right now, at this very moment, there is one powder that works completely differently and is sitting in your kitchen right now. So what is this powder? Before I name it, let me explain the mechanism, because that is the key to understanding its effectiveness. Aphids are soft-bodied organisms. They don't have a hard shell like beetles or a thick protective layer like caterpillars. Their bodies are covered only by a very thin cuticle, a delicate lipid film that protects them from drying out and from certain external factors. And it is exactly this layer that our powder attacks. When its solution gets onto the surface of the aphid's body, it disrupts this protective coating. It has a slightly alkaline nature. Its pH is around 8.5, and this alkalinity causes the breakdown of the cuticle's lipid layer. Simply put, the solution breaks down the thin, greasy layer that protects the aphids. Without this layer, the aphid quickly loses water, dehydrates, and dies. But that's not the only mechanism. The solution also changes the pH of the leaf surface. Aphids prefer a slightly acidic environment, which makes it easier for them to suck sap from plants. When the pH shifts toward alkaline values, it becomes unpleasant and repellent to aphids. They have a harder time attaching, suck less effectively, and tend to move elsewhere. So this powder works on two fronts simultaneously. It directly kills the aphids hit by the solution and at the same time repels those that were just about to move on to the plant. All right, I won't keep you in suspense any longer. It is baking soda. Yes, plain baking soda, technically called sodium bicarbonate, with the chemical formula NaHCO3. This white powder that most of us associate with baking, cleaning, and home tricks for removing stains. This powder that costs a few pennies for a 200-gram package in any store, and that one package is enough to protect your garden for the entire season. You're probably wondering how it's possible that something so simple and cheap works on such a huge problem. You just learned the answer. This mechanism of breaking down the lipid layer and changing the pH is the whole secret. And did you know that professional horticultural companies in organic farming use this exact same mechanism? Sodium bicarbonate is an approved substance in the organic farming system in the European Union. Even those who grow professionally and sell their crops as organic can legally use this substance. This is not an amateur internet trick. It is a scientifically proven and officially recognized method of plant protection. But now for the most important part, because just knowing that baking soda works on aphids is not enough. You need to know exactly how to prepare it, how to apply it, and how often to repeat the spray. This is exactly where most people make mistakes that lead to the spray either not working or actually damaging the plants. I will now show you the exact procedure that I have tested myself and that works reliably. We start by preparing the solution. You need 1 tablespoon of baking soda. That corresponds to roughly 15 grams. Next, 1 tablespoon of regular vegetable oil. It can be canola, sunflower, olive oil. The type doesn't matter. And finally, 3 to 5 drops of liquid soap or dish detergent. You pour all of this into 1 liter of lukewarm water. Not hot, not cold, lukewarm. The temperature should be between 20 and 25 degrees Celsius. And now I will explain why each ingredient is there and why none can be skipped. Baking soda is the main active substance, the active element that kills and repels aphids. The vegetable oil acts as a so-called carrier and sticking agent. It helps the solution stay better on the leaves and on the aphids' bodies. Without the oil, the aqueous soda solution would evaporate very quickly or run off the leaf, and its effectiveness would drop dramatically. Furthermore, the oil itself acts as an insecticide because it clogs the aphids' breathing holes, the so-called spiracles or stigmata, through which aphids breathe. The soap serves as an emulsifier. Oil and water normally do not mix. Anyone who has ever tried to make a vinaigrette dressing knows this. The soap lowers the surface tension of the water and allows the oil to disperse evenly throughout the solution. Without the soap, the oil would float on the surface and the solution would not be homogeneous. You mix all three ingredients in a liter of lukewarm water and shake thoroughly. The solution should be slightly cloudy but homogeneous, with no visible oil droplets on the surface. If you see separated layers of oil and water, add 1 or 2 more drops of soap and mix again. Now for the application. And here, please pay really close attention, because the application method is just as important as the solution itself. Pour the solution into a sprayer, preferably a manual one with a fine nozzle that creates a gentle mist, not a strong stream. You don't want the solution dripping off the leaves. You want it to cover them with a thin, even layer. Shake the sprayer several times before application, and now the crucial detail that most people completely ignore. Do not spray only the top side of the leaves. In the vast majority of cases, aphids hide on the underside of the leaves. There they are protected from rain, sun, and predators. If you spray only the top side of the leaf, you might hit 10 to 20% of the colony. The rest will easily survive and grow back in a few days. So you must carefully bend back individual leaves and apply the solution primarily to their undersides. It's more labor-intensive and takes longer, but it is absolutely crucial to the success of the entire operation. Perform the spraying in the evening hours, preferably around 7:00 p.m. or 8:09 p.m. when the sun is no longer as strong. Direct sunlight combined with drops of the solution on the leaves can cause so-called leaf burn. The drops act like tiny lenses focusing the sun's rays and can create minor burns on the leaf tissue. In the evening, this problem is eliminated. Besides, aphids are less active in the evening and at night, so they have less chance to escape the spray. How often should you repeat the spray? Do the first application as soon as you notice the aphids. The second application after 2 days, meaning after 48 hours. The third after another 3 to 4 days. A total of 3 applications over roughly 1 week. This triple punch is important because the first application kills the adults and older nymphs, but the eggs and very young nymphs might survive because they are better protected or too small for the solution to hit them sufficiently. The second and third applications hit these newly hatched individuals and guarantee that the colony will not be able to rebuild. After the third application, the aphids should completely disappear on most plants. If you still see a significant number of aphids after 3 applications, you can add a fourth after another 5 days. But this is usually only necessary in exceptional cases, with a truly massive infestation. And now the part I warned you about at the very beginning, the critical mistake that most people make and that destroys their plants instead of the aphids. A mistake so common and so serious that I must devote an appropriate amount of time to it. This mistake is overdosing the baking soda. A lot of people think that if 1 tablespoon of baking soda in a liter of water works, then 2 tablespoons will work twice as well, and 3 tablespoons 3 times as well. This is completely flawed reasoning that can seriously damage your plants. Baking soda is a salt. Chemically, it is the sodium salt of carbonic acid, and like any salt, it draws water out of cells through the process of osmosis. At the right concentration, which is that 1 tablespoon per liter, the action is gentle and targeted at the thin cuticle of the aphids. But when you double or triple the concentration, the osmotic effect starts acting on the plant cells themselves as well. The leaves begin to lose water. Their edges turn brown and dry out. Necrotic spots or dead areas appear on the surface. In severe cases, the entire leaf can die and fall off. I saw this with my own eyes at a neighbor's who decided to spray his tomatoes with a triple dose of baking soda. The result? The aphids did indeed disappear, but the tomatoes looked like someone had poured boiling water over them. The leaves were brown, dry, and curled. The plants survived, but the yield was a third smaller than it should have been. And this is exactly the case where the cure is worse than the disease. So please, stick to the dosage exactly as I provided. 1 tablespoon of baking soda per 1 liter of water, no more. If you feel that it's not enough, it's better to increase the frequency of application, not the concentration of the solution. And there is one more thing you need to watch out for. Do not use washing soda. Washing soda and baking soda are two different substances, although people often confuse them. Washing soda, or sodium carbonate, Na2CO3, is a much stronger base with a pH of around 11 to 12. It does work on aphids too, but its aggressiveness is so high that it will very likely damage the plants as well. Baking soda has a pH of around 8.5, which is effective enough on aphids but gentle on plants. So when you go to the store, look for a package labeled baking soda or sodium bicarbonate, not washing soda. We've discussed how to prepare the solution, how to apply it, and what mistakes to avoid. Now let's see exactly what you can expect during those 48 hours after the first application, because realistic expectations are key so that you don't panic and do something hasty. Day 1, the day of application. You spray the plants in the evening, as we agreed. At this moment, nothing visible will happen yet. The aphids will still be on the plants, looking alive and active. Some people start to doubt at this point. They tell themselves it's not working, that they wasted their time in baking soda. But don't jump to conclusions. The solution needs time to start working. Overnight and into the next morning, the osmotic effect begins to work. The aphids hit by the solution lose moisture. Their bodies shrink slightly and slow down. If you look closely in the morning, you will notice that many aphids are not moving or are moving noticeably slower than usual. Some may change color from light green to a duller, yellowish, or brownish hue. Day 2, which is roughly 24 hours after application. Now the changes should be visible. A significant portion of the aphids should be dead or dying. You might see tiny dark bodies on the leaves. These are dead aphids. Some might still be attached to the leaf because their stylet remained embedded in the plant tissue, even though the aphid itself is no longer alive. The live aphids, if any remain, will be noticeably less active and may move to less affected parts of the plant. And here comes an important moment. At the end of the second day, you do the second application. Again in the evening. Again carefully on the undersides of the leaves. Again with the correct dosage. Day 3 and 4. After the second application, there is a massive drop in the aphid population. Most of the colony should be eliminated at this point. What remains on the leaves are the remnants of dead aphids and honeydew, the sticky secretion that aphids produce. It's a good idea to rinse off the honeydew with a gentle stream of water, as a black fungus called sooty mold can grow on it. By the end of the first week, after the third application, your plant should be practically clean. And now comes the crucial moment. It's not enough just to celebrate victory. You need to take one more step to guarantee that the aphids won't return. I'm going to tell you something now that most internet guides completely skip. Killing the aphids is only half the battle. The other half is ensuring they don't come back. And for that, you need to understand one important thing about the ecology of your garden. Aphids don't just fly in randomly. They come to your plants for specific reasons. The first reason is an excess of nitrogen in the soil. When we over-fertilize, especially with nitrogen fertilizers, plants produce soft, juicy shoots with a high amino acid content. And for aphids, that's like a set table. They are literally magnetically attracted to such shoots. So the first preventive measure is controlling fertilization. Do not over-fertilize with nitrogen. Use balanced fertilizers and prioritize slow-release organic sources of nitrogen, such as compost or well-rotted manure, over quick-dissolving mineral fertilizers. The second reason aphids return is the lack of their natural enemies. The one step that will block the return of aphids for the entire season is attracting and supporting 7-spot ladybugs and their relatives. Ladybugs are the most effective natural predators of aphids. A single ladybug larva can devour 400 to 500 aphids during its development. One adult beetle eats about 50 aphids a day. If you have a ladybug population in your garden, aphids have minimal chances of multiplying to dangerous numbers. How do you attract ladybugs? Plant flowers near your garden beds that ladybugs love. These are primarily chamomile, yarrow, dill, fennel, parsley, left to bolt, and marigolds. These plants provide ladybugs with the pollen and nectar they need to supplement their diet, while also offering them shelter. Just a small flower bed or even a few pots with these plants near your vegetables and fruit bushes is enough. And one more important detail. If you have been using chemical sprays up until now, stop. Chemicals kill ladybugs just as effectively as aphids. And because the ladybug population rebuilds much slower than the aphid population, using chemicals creates a vicious cycle. You kill the aphids and ladybugs at the same time. The aphids return in a few days, the ladybugs in a few weeks or months, so you have to spray with chemicals again, which destroys the ladybugs again, and so on. Isn't it a paradox that by fighting the problem, we are deepening it ourselves? By switching to natural methods like our baking soda solution, you break this vicious cycle. But ladybugs aren't the only allies you have in the garden. Other important aphid predators are lacewings, whose larvae are just as voracious as ladybug larvae, and hoverflies, whose larvae consume huge amounts of aphids. And of course birds, especially titmice, which hunt aphids on a massive scale during the chick feeding season. A great tit can bring its chicks several hundred insect prey items in a single day, and aphids make up a significant part of that menu. How do you support titmice? Hang up nesting boxes, leave shrubs and trees in the garden where they can nest, and feed them in the winter so they stay in your area. An investment in 3 or 4 nesting boxes will pay off many times over in the form of natural pest control. The best garden is not one with no pests at all. The best garden is one where there is balance, where there are pests, but they are kept in check by their natural enemies, where you don't have to run to the store every week for another spray because your garden can largely take care of itself. And baking soda in this context is a tool for exceptional situations, when the balance is tipped and the aphids overbreed. It is not a product for daily use. It is an emergency brake. Let's talk now about a few practical questions that people often ask. Does baking soda work on all species of aphids? Yes, it works on green peach aphids, black bean aphids, gray cabbage aphids, and other species. The mechanism of action is the same because all aphids have a similar body structure with a thin cuticle. Is baking soda safe for bees? Yes, provided you stick to the rule of applying it in the evening hours when the bees are already back in their hives. Baking soda at the concentration we use is not toxic to bees, even if they were to come into contact with it. Unlike chemical insecticides, it does not remain in the plant and does not threaten pollinators visiting the flowers in the following days. Can I use it on flowering plants? Yes, but avoid spraying the flowers directly. Spray the leaves and stems. Flowers are more delicate, and the spray could damage their petals. What if it rains? If it starts raining within 2 hours after application, the spray will be washed away and will be ineffective. You need to repeat it when the rain stops and the leaves dry off. That's why it's worth checking the weather forecast and applying it during a period when no rain is expected for at least the next 12 hours. Can I store the prepared solution? Basically, no. The solution is most effective when freshly prepared. During storage, the oil separates and the baking soda reacts with the water and gradually loses its effectiveness. Always prepare a fresh solution right before application. Preparation takes minutes, so there is really no reason to store it. And now I would like to tell you about one additional tip that you can combine with the baking soda solution for even better results. That tip is garlic water. Garlic contains a compound called allicin, which has natural insecticidal and repellent properties. Aphids absolutely hate garlic, and preparing garlic water is just as simple as preparing the baking soda solution. You take 4 to 5 cloves of garlic, crush them or grate them finely, and add them to 1 liter of hot but not boiling water. Leave it overnight for a minimum of 12 hours. In the morning, strain it through a fine sieve or cloth, and you have ready-made garlic water. You can use this garlic water in 2 ways. First, as a preventive spray. Once a week, spray healthy plants with garlic water, and aphids will be much less likely to move on to them. Second, as a supplement to the baking soda solution. If you have a severe aphid problem, first apply the baking soda solution according to the procedure I described, and after completing the 3-phase baking soda cycle, switch to a weekly preventive spray with garlic water. This combination will provide you with both immediate treatment and long-term prevention. According to estimates by Polish agricultural experts, aphids cause losses in Poland amounting to hundreds of millions of zlotys every year, and that's just in commercial crops. No one exactly measures the losses in allotment gardens and small cultivated areas, but they can be estimated at another tens of millions of zlotys annually. Aphids are not just an aesthetic problem. They are an economic problem on a massive scale. I will mention a few more natural methods that you can combine with baking soda for comprehensive protection. A soap solution, meaning a teaspoon of natural liquid soap without fragrances or dyes per liter of water, is an effective remedy against aphids in itself. The soap dissolves the aphid's wax layer and causes them to dehydrate. Some gardeners use the soap solution as a first line of defense and the baking soda solution as a heavier caliber for stronger infestations. Nettle extract, if you have access to nettles, and in our country probably everyone does, you can prepare a nettle extract, which is an excellent fertilizer and at the same time an aphid repellent. Fill a bucket with fresh nettles, cover them with water, and leave them to ferment for 5 to 10 days. Dilute the finished extract with water in a 1:10 ratio and use it for watering or spraying. Note, nettle extract has a distinct smell, so prepare it away from recreational areas. Tobacco extract is a traditional method used by our grandmothers. You pour a liter of hot water over a tablespoon of tobacco, leave it for 24 hours and strain it. The nicotine in tobacco is a strong insecticide, but beware. Nicotine is also toxic to humans and beneficial insects. Therefore, I do not recommend this method for edible and flowering plants. I mention it mainly as a historical curiosity. It is also worth knowing about neem oil. Neem oil is extracted from the fruits of the neem tree and contains a substance called azadirachtin, which disrupts the hormonal system of insects and prevents them from reproducing. Neem oil is very popular in organic farming and can be purchased at garden centers and online. It is applied similarly to the baking soda solution and is effective not only against aphids but also against whiteflies, thrips, and certain other pests. But let's get back to baking soda, as it is the main star of today's episode. I would like to tell you about a few additional uses for baking soda in the garden, because once you buy it, you can use it for many things. Baking soda acts as a preventive measure against powdery mildew. Powdery mildew is a fungal disease that forms a white, powdery coating on leaves and stems. It attacks roses, cucumbers, zucchini, pumpkins, grapevines, and many other plants. Spraying a solution of 1 teaspoon of baking soda in a liter of water with a few drops of soap preventively protects plants from powdery mildew. It's the same mechanism as with aphids. The change in pH on the leaf surface creates an environment where fungal spores are unable to take root and develop. Baking soda can also help regulate soil pH. If your soil is too acidic, you can slightly alkalize it by adding a small amount of baking soda to your watering water. But be very careful here, and it's best to first measure the soil pH using test kits that are widely available in garden stores. Most garden plants prefer a soil pH between 6 and 7, which is slightly acidic to neutral. And do you know what the most beautiful part of all this is? That all of this can be done using a single package of baking soda for a few dollars, a bottle of oil from the kitchen, and soap from the bathroom. You don't need any special equipment, any certificates, or any personal protective equipment. All you need is a sprayer, a little patience, and knowledge of the correct procedure, which you now have. In most cases, nature offers us solutions that are simpler, cheaper, and safer than what they sell in stores. The problem is that we don't know about them because no one has an interest in promoting them. No company will get rich by telling you to use baking soda for $3. Companies get rich by selling you a special preparation for $30 in shiny packaging with convincing text. And I don't mean to say that commercial products are bad. Some of them are excellent. But I'm saying that it's always worth trying the simple solution first, and only reach for the more complicated ones when the simple one isn't enough. Let's do a quick summary of the entire procedure now. Step 1. Prepare the solution. A tablespoon of baking soda, a tablespoon of vegetable oil, 3 to 5 drops of liquid soap. All of this in 1 liter of lukewarm water. Mix thoroughly. Step 2. Fill the sprayer and thoroughly spray the affected plants in the evening hours. Focus primarily on the undersides of the leaves where aphids hide. Spray with a fine mist, not a strong stream. Step 3. After 48 hours, apply a second treatment in the same way. Step 4. After another 3 to 4 days, apply the third and final treatment. Step 5. After completing the baking soda treatment, switch to preventive measures. Control your fertilizing. Grow plants that attract ladybugs. Alternatively, use a preventive garlic water spray once a week. That is the entire procedure. Simple, cheap, safe, and effective. And finally, a few words about which plants you can safely use the baking soda solution on. Baking soda at the recommended concentration is safe for the vast majority of garden plants. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, zucchini, beans, peas, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kohlrabi, lettuce, strawberries, fruit trees and bushes, roses, ornamental shrubs, herbs. You can confidently use the baking soda solution on all these plants. The only exception is very young seedlings, meaning plants that only have their first 2 or 3 true leaves. These plants are extremely sensitive, and any spray, including the baking soda one, can damage them. With seedlings, it's better to remove aphids mechanically with your fingers or a soft cloth. The baking soda solution also works on indoor plants. The procedure is identical. Just don't forget to place the plant in a spot after spraying where it won't drip onto the carpet or furniture. Interestingly, baking soda is used in pest control on a global scale. In the United States, sodium bicarbonate is part of the so-called integrated pest management system in commercial agriculture. In Japan, they use it in citrus orchards. In Australia, farmers apply it to vineyards. It's a globally recognized method that simply works. And yet, most ordinary gardeners have no idea about it. Gardening is not just about growing vegetables and flowers. It's a continuous learning process, discovering new but also old, forgotten methods and sharing experiences with others. Every week, we try to bring you information that will help you become better gardeners. Practical, proven, and easy to understand information. And now I have a favor to ask of you. If this video helped you, if you learned something new, try the baking soda spray on your plants and write in the comments how it turned out. I'm interested in every one of your stories, every experience, every result. If you know someone who is fighting aphids and spending money on expensive chemicals, send them a link to this video. You might save them a lot of money and at the same time help their garden and the natural environment. If this story has changed the way you look at these pesky pests in your garden, be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Together, we are discovering the secrets of nature and the history that some have tried to hide from you. Take care of your crops and sow the future with us. Another treasure trove of knowledge will open soon. See you.